The number one reason people become unhappy is their relationship with their boss. The number two reason is the relationships they have with their coworkers, their peers, their colleagues. Number three is a lack of recognition and a lack of respect. And again, it fuels unhappiness, and it fuels just all kinds of problems in the workplace.
Ron Reich discusses about helping people
led with emotional intelligence
and make better choices in life
and work relationships.
And it's called the FORD acronym. And if you want to try to find something to talk with people about, you can always talk to them about the F, family. How's your family? How old is your daughter? What is she like? Tell me about her. Whatever it might be. The O, occupation. The R is recreation. The D is...
Welcome to It's Your Choice podcast. Today on the show, we have Ron Reich. Thank you, Ron, for joining us today.
Oh, Sally, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Ron, what is emotional intelligence?
Oh, man, that can go in so many different directions. Sally, for me, I actually define it, I think, a little bit differently than most people. It's about knowing your emotions, knowing what you're feeling, and being able to feel or being able to deal with other people's emotions. That's the classic piece of it. I add to that, though, and I feel very, very strongly about this, that a huge part of emotional intelligence is getting to know yourself extremely well, just extremely well, from an emotional perspective, from a competency perspective, and everything. Because people say, you need to be able to work well with others, and that's emotional intelligence. And that's exactly right, except in order for me to be able to work most effectively with others, I have to know myself on an incredibly deep level.
How well do we generally know ourselves?
I think most people believe they know themselves well. And if you sit down and really, really talk to them and ask some really probing, deep questions, people realize that, at least it's been my experience, is that, you know what, maybe I don't know myself quite as well as I thought I did. And I don't mean that in a negative sense either. It's just like, wow, there are some blind spots there of which I was unaware. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons people can use a coach too. It's like, oh, I know myself. I know what I've been doing. I've been doing this a long time. It's like, yeah, except everybody still can use some help or just use some guidance here and there.
Absolutely. We all have blind spots, is what I call them, right? Like we think we know, but we can talk to our best friends or our spouse, or if we live with somebody, some questions about us, and they notice things, they recognize things that we don't always notice. And I think it really is important to know thyself. And the question, it's so funny because for anybody who's have kids, we think about when the kids are kind of that terrible 2s, 3s, and they're always like, why? Right? And we're just like, because that's the way it is, or because I said so, or all of those things. I've said that to my daughter when she was younger too, because the why is just, they're curious, but we really actually need to kind of act that way with ourselves. Why do I think what I think? Something pops into my head. Why am I thinking that? Something happens. Why am I responding this way? Why do I get angry easy? Why do I feel the need to? And then whatever all those things are, like we could almost need to ask ourselves that why about absolutely everything we think and believe every day, to really start to get that understanding of ourselves. And there's going to be a lot of things that we're just going to think, I don't know. I don't know why I believe that, or I don't know why I'm feeling this way right now in this situation.
Yeah. And see, and again, one thing that pops into my mind based on what you just said too, Sally, is thinking about, well, what's the reason I feel this way, and what's the reason I'm angry right now. A big part of emotional intelligence too, and knowing yourself, is looking at the positive aspects. What do I do really well? What are my strengths? Because I have strengths, and I'm proud of them. There are some things I do really well, and there are absolutely things where I struggle as well. And I'm open with people about both sides of that. I'll talk to people about my strengths, and I'm very open with people about I'm not even going to say some of my limitations. The limitations, at least when I'm chuckling, of which I'm aware.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has strengths, and everybody has good things, and everybody has things that come easy to them. And they are those strengths and the things that they like to do. So, yeah, I didn't, if it came across that it seemed to just those negative things, we also need to be looking at those positives as well.
Yeah. Well, and again, going back. It brings me into something that to me is extremely important, both professionally and personally as well. And actually, Sally, I'll put you on the spot, if I may, just for a second.
Okay.
What do you believe are the major reasons people become unhappy at work?
I think in part, it's a fulfillment. They're feeling unfulfilled. So it might be that they don't, like, they're just not fulfilled at the job. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that they just outright don't like their job. And so that is a big one. But for people who do like what they do, I think that there's a lack of fulfillment, though maybe feeling restricted with what they can do, can't give their opinions or insights as freely as they would like to, and help with those types of, or feeling that their opinion doesn't really matter.
Right. And what you're saying ties directly in. The number one reason people become unhappy is their relationship with their boss. The number two reason people become unhappy are the relationships they have with their coworkers, their peers, their colleagues. Number three is a lack of recognition and a lack of respect. And what's so interesting is that there's no separation between these, meaning people become unhappy with their boss because the boss is not giving enough recognition, is not building the relationship, is not finding out, hey, what's important to this person? And it's the same thing with coworkers. And again, it fuels unhappiness, and it fuels just all kinds of problems in the workplace.
It just reminded me of, I watch sometimes some clips and videos of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not sure if you're aware of him or not. And he was saying in several of his clips, like over the years, that he has meetings with every single person on his team to get to know them. They're short. They're like 15 minutes, but he's like direct to the point. He knows what's going on, and he knows them. So it's not just a name in a department or a name of somebody that does something. And it is taking that time, and it is time consuming, but gets to know every single person, bits about them, what's going on. Are they happy? What they like to do. And it really makes a difference. I believe his turnover for his place is very low, and especially for the industry, because he takes the time to know people.
My wife's cousin has a very, very high level position at the FDA. And in talking with him one day, totally unsolicited, which was wonderful, he was just telling me, he said, you know what I love to do, Ron? I was like, what? He said, I love walking around the office. I just love doing it. I was like, really? What do you do, Gerald? And again, thinking this is going to be a great story coming, he said, I talk to people. I learn all about them. I learn who they are. I learn what their interests are. We talk about projects, what's going well, what are some of the roadblocks and everything else. And really, the thing he said at the end which caught my attention the most out of from with our entire conversation. He said, Ron, you know what my goal is when I'm out walking around? And I was like, what? He said, I want people to think, oh, there's Gerald, or here comes Gerald. Not, oh my goodness, here comes the executive director of, whatever. And it's like, no, here comes Gerald, the person, the nice guy who is here to help us and guide us, or, whatever, and is open to listening to us.
Pardon the interruption. If you're liking the show so far, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really means a lot to me. It helps grow the show and the channel and to the show. Right. That opening to listening. I mean, it's all about, as you said, with the few points, is relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships are key. Like relationships are a foundation of the human species. Like we're tribal, we're relationship, we do things together. We're kind of teams or packs, or, all the words that we could use for that. And that's what it is. And also too, every person likes to feel special. And it could be just that, my boss knows my name. He knows, he's curious about how my weekend was, or he knows, okay, maybe I've been not doing as good today or this week because I'm struggling. I've got some family stuff going on. And not so much that we want to be dumping things onto people, but it's when people are asking and they want that information, it makes us feel like we're important. And especially with work and colleagues and people that we're spending a lot of time with, we want that, and it's part of it. Gives us that community feeling.
That's right. My old colleague David this used to be his signature tagline, and he doesn't use it anymore. I wish he would. Anyway, he used to write, or his tagline was, "You never know when you're making a difference," and that is so true. Just so true. It can be. And he and I used to talk about this a lot, and I talk about it with other people. It can be a smile. It can be a gesture. It can be saying thank you to somebody. It can be giving somebody some feedback that may not be easy to hear, except you're still making a difference. And I mean, I go back, sadly, my closest friend died a little over 6 years ago. I was in Orlando, and Paul had about a month left. I worked with a client. I was at the airport. I was having something to eat. I was getting ready to fly home. And I was sitting close to the, in the terminal where all the passengers were going by and everything else. And Sally, I must have looked a mess. I mean, I was upset. I was sad, and just everything. Somebody walked by me. I don't know who it was to this day, and just tapped my shoulder. I turned around and I was like, who was that? Who was that? And I will never know. That person has no clue what they did for me. And I mean, it's that thing, you never know when you're making a difference. These little things, recognition, whatever, that can stay with you for a lifetime, because I'll never forget that.
Right. And a lot of times it is the small things, right? It doesn't have, it's not the big, grand gestures or having to do things. And yeah, we remember some of that, but so many times it's the smallest things. And I've seen TV programs, and one was, now, I think one was the guy was about to kill somebody, like to murder this person. He had the gun in his pocket, and I can't remember who it was, but a girl next to him bumped into him, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and smiled at him. And just his whole train of thought of his going to kill this person completely changed, and he didn't, and his opportunity, I guess, had bypassed. So I've heard of that. And then another one was a program that was about people committing suicide, and I want to say on the Golden Gate Bridge. But again, a guy was walking, he was going to do it. And as a girl walked by, she smiled and said hello, and just, kept walking, just a hello, and smiled. And that just changed for him at that moment. And he decided not to to continue on to go and to jump off the bridge. I mean, now those are, of course, are quite extreme situations,
Yes.
but they were just simple things. And we don't realize that that nice small gesture of such a simple thing, the ripple effects that it has. So not only to that person directly, but then if that guy would have jumped off the bridge, the ripple effect for family and friends and everybody from that loss, all was changed by somebody just saying hello and smiling.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
It really is incredible.
Yeah.
So with that, we, doing those nice things, knowing that emotional intelligence, how can we relate that also with communication, especially whether it's with colleagues, with family members and relationships? Because, we've come a long way in the world when it comes to technology and all the things that we do. But I really think we really still kind of suck at language communication with other people.
Yeah. There are so many different ways we can go with that. Number one, for whatever reason, the research is clear on this, and I talk to clients about this, and when I'm facilitating sessions, I'll talk to my groups about this, is that it is a proven fact that the better you know the people with whom you work, the more effectively you will work with them. And that's from a professional perspective and personal. You need to get to know people on both levels. And, I've had people say to me over the years, I'm thinking of someone in particular right now. She was very, very insular, very introverted, and she was also the managing partner of a very small law firm. And she didn't want to talk to anybody. And one of the, where I'm going with this simply is there's an acronym that I like, and I pulled this out of a book that I read, and it's called the Ford acronym. And if you want to try to find something to talk with people about, you can always talk to them about the F, family. That tends to be a safe subject. How's your family? How old is your daughter? What is she like? Tell me about her. Whatever it might be. The O, occupation. If you are coworkers, Sally, what do you love about working here? What makes you crazy? Oh, I'm like that too. Whatever it might be. Okay.
Right.
The R is recreation. You can always talk to people about what do you love to do? On the weekends or when you have time, what is it you enjoy doing? The D is for dreams. If you could retire right now, what would you do? What do you tend to fantasize about? Those sorts of things. So that's a part of the communication, just relative to what to talk about. Well, I am also a very, very big believer in personality assessments. I'm a big, big believer in the DISC. I think it's the best instrument on the market. And again, and the reason I say that is several-fold. Number one, it's incredibly accurate, scary accurate. Number two, it's easy to understand, it's easy to use, and it's helpful. And when I know when I can learn, again, going back to what we were talking about first thing, really discovering ourselves. When I can learn on a deeper level, okay, I tend to be relationship oriented and slower paced. I like to work in smaller groups of people, not larger groups. And again, knowing, it points out deeply what my strengths are, what my limitations are. And it can do that for anybody. And the light bulbs that I have seen go on have just been, it's just so much fun. I mean, in fact, I'm reminded, an old mentor of mine said to me one time, whenever we were doing the desk, he would say we would put the 4 letters on flip charts and have them do an activity at their charts and everything else. And he said, Ron, you know what one of the most fun things to do is here? And I was like, what, Rich? He said, just sit down and watch people be themselves at the flip charts. It's true. The D's are up there. This is what we need to do. Let's get this done. Come on, you guys. Let's go. Let's go. And the I's, who are relationship oriented, they love to talk. They're sitting there chatting away for a while. Saying, oh, we still have 8 minutes. Don't worry. Wait, we have time. And then the S's are, gee, well, what do you think? And how should we, in what direction do you, those sorts of things. And the C's are sitting there trying to figure out all the research behind it.
Pardon the interruption. If you're enjoying this episode and you're someone who values performance, clarity, and personal growth, then you're going to love my Mind Matters weekly newsletter. Every week, I send out a quick, powerful piece designed to help high achievers like you master your mindset, upgrade your habits, and lead with more clarity and fulfillment. It's not fluff. It's science-backed, actionable, and easy to digest. Think of it as your weekly reset button to realign with the leader you're becoming. So if you want to go deeper than what we've covered here on the show, then head over to www.sallypederson.com, that's me, and subscribe. Your next breakthrough just might be one email away. Now back to the show.
And again, it's fascinating, it's fun, and that's all well and good. The bottom line, though, is, like I said before, it's helpful when you can understand. When I know myself, it helps me to work more effectively with you, and I can speak your language so that we communicate more effectively. I'm a huge believer in that.
Right. It does make a big difference, because then when we understand that, how we are, and then also to how we see some others are, we won't get as frustrated. We don't get annoyed because, oh, okay, right, that's their personality. This is mine. So I need to, whatever it may be a little bit more curious, a little bit more social, or no, right to the point, whatever it may be, because that's how they are. And then we know how we can work with that. Another great one, I love that FORWARD acronym. I think it's fantastic. When I meet people for the first time, a lot of times if I'm not involved within a conversation and there's talking going on, if I'm kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what to say, a kind of a go-to question I find is always great is, so how do you like to spend your days? Because then it's such an open question that, like, I don't know if they love their job or not, or their family life is good or not, or whatever, because I basically know nothing other than maybe their name we just got introduced. However they answer that, they're going to answer in what they're interested in and what they like. So if they love their job, they're like, oh, well, I work and I do this. And it's, oh, great. Okay, we can talk about work. Or, oh, I love, fishing, hiking, boat. Oh, outdoors. Okay, great. And it opens that. And I always say to people, eventually you can always find common ground. And that is a question that I think is great because it's so broad. And, we know people like to talk about ourselves and talk about things that we like. And so with a broad open question, person will instantly start talking about whatever it is. And then we can find things to connect with that one question.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. It's great. I didn't come up with it. I learned it from I don't know, I was taking a course or something like that. And we were talking about, just with meeting people at events, whether it's, it could be a person's wedding. It could be, colleagues. I mean, it can be used anywhere where we're meeting somebody. It's just like, so how do you like to spend your days? And then it just opens it to what they want to talk about, because you're leaving it open to them, not, oh, what do you do for work? Or and they think, oh, I don't want to talk about my work. I hate my job. But if somebody feels that way and you're listening, I really hope then you move on to find a job that you do like to do and enjoy, because we spend too much time at work to do things that we don't like to do.
That's right.
Unfortunately, people do tend to get stuck in that job of something that they don't like to do. Although I always say nothing is perfect, right? Even if you love your job, there's tasks that we need to do that are not always enjoyable. Or in my case, I find a lot of things take me much longer than I anticipate. I always like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this done in an hour. And 2 hours later, I might still be working on it, or I'm just finishing it. And my task time is not very accurate.
Sally, I was thinking before the show a little bit about just the title that, it's your choice. And I believe with every fiber I have, every single thing I do in my life is a choice.
Absolutely.
Everything. And
Everything.
again, because you were saying before is that people, oh, I hate this job, except I have to stay in this job because I have to support my family. No, you don't. No, you don't.
True.
It's a choice. It is a choice. And again, I don't need to get into the semantics of, oh well, no, you have to support. Had a situation many years ago now. We were talking about this exact same thing, and I asked the group, I said, do I have to be here today as the facilitator? And they were kind of looking at me and it's starting to realize, and they were like, no, you don't have to be here. I was like, that's right. I could have chosen not to show up today, except there would have been some pretty nasty consequences for me. One of the participants said, no, Ron, no. I have to be here. I'm a single mother. I have a daughter. I have to work because I have to support her. And I was so grateful because one of her coworkers said to her, nope, you don't have to be here. You choose to be here. You choose to be a good mom to your daughter. You could be on welfare right now if you wanted to be. And again, everything is a choice. I'm responsible for myself, my own happiness. And again, whether it is personally or professionally, that's on me. That's on me.
Absolutely. And like you said too, though, there's every decision that we make. I'll say there's pros and cons. There's benefits and challenges, and some of those challenges are going to be difficult depending upon the choice that we make. And I know that some people will think, well, I didn't choose for this situation to happen. This happened to me. So let's say somebody got into a car accident, not their fault. Another car ran a stop sign or whatever it may be. We'll just say ran a stop sign and got hit. You're right. That accident was not your choice. However, how you respond to it, what you do moving forward is all a choice. And I also say to people, when you don't make a decision, you've made a decision. Right. If somebody's waiting for a response, and then they just stop waiting anymore and they do whatever without you or move on, you've made a choice by not giving the decision.
Right. I'm going to show my age. One of my favorite shows growing up, and I still watch the reruns occasionally, was MASH.
I remember that show. I'm with you on that one. I remember.
Hawkeye and BJ were talking to Sydney, the psychiatrist, and there was a soldier who had lost his memory or something along those lines, and they were trying to get it back. And I still remember the three of them, Hawkeye, BJ, and Sydney. Sydney said he has chosen to deal with this by not dealing with it. And I always remembered that, where I was like, yeah. And a lot of times, I used to do that a lot. I really did. I'm getting better at it. I'm still a work in progress. Is that it's making a decision, though. It's absolutely making a decision. I'm not going to do anything with this. That's a decision.
That's a decision.
And that's a choice.
100%. Yes, it is. It is. And, even like procrastination. Oh, I'll deal with it later. That's still a choice. You are going to deal with it later, or when later comes, it still is later and later never comes. Right. But that is still a choice. And I think, when we really start to put 100% responsibility onto ourselves, for some of it, it's a little bit scary because I am exactly where I am in my life and it's all my fault, good and bad, the pros and the cons, benefits and challenges, because of every decision I have made. I can't say because somebody else did something or things happened to me. Yes, we've all had things happen, some far worse than others. But how we respond and the decisions that we make have put us in this position. And every person listening to this at whatever point you are in life, it's going to sound harsh, but you are exactly where you are because of every decision you've made, and it's all your fault. For good or for bad, it's your choice, and you made those choices.
That's right. I believe that wholeheartedly. Absolutely. Just absolutely. And I also have the ability to change. And that's
absolutely.
It's not like, oh, well, I'm stuck here because of my decisions. No, I'm not stuck. If I do that, I'm choosing to be stuck. I can get out of this, and what am I going to do about it?
Right. And change, it's hard, especially when we've been doing the same thing for decades and now we're going to do something different. And sometimes we'll fall back to that old self or habits that we've had. But then again, it's, oh, no, not that old habit again. I'm changing. I'm a new person. I don't do that anymore. I don't think that way anymore. Or, I've had enough. I'm going to take some online courses to get that new, different job I want. Or, I want to travel. So I'm going to look at getting these different types of jobs or save my money and not be buying Starbucks coffee every day or whatever big or little decision it is. We absolutely can change. And I think it's interesting, though, too, that people, they do think they're stuck. And I've heard people say several times, oh, it's just the way I am. Or, oh, that's so-and-so, that's just the way they are. And no, it's not. I have a very good friend of mine. And she even says, she's like, well, I'm an overly sensitive person. And I've said to her, well, that's your choice. She's like, well, no, it's not. I can't help it. I said, no, you can. You are completely aware that you are overly sensitive. You are choosing to be sensitive to those things instead of, toughening up a little bit or letting it roll off or taking it so personally. Like, that's a choice. Now, if you want to stay and be that overly sensitive person and you like that and you like the way that you're living, great. You're aware of it. Stay there. Great. It's your choice to. But if you don't like it, don't just say, well, that's just the way I am. I can't help it, because you can, and you can make changes. Now, you're not going to go from an overly sensitive person to not overly sensitive overnight or in a week. It's going to take some time, but we can rewire our brain to make new connections, to change who we are. And if we want to change our personal reality, we do need to change our personality.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And And I mean, so many of these are learned behaviors. I mean, our personalities are our personalities, and that's fine. I can also adjust. I can also flex within my personality. Absolutely, yes.
Right. And we know that, like, if we want to make big changes, there's going to be big changes that need to be made if we want a completely different life. But we all know that we can change a bit, because if we think of how we react when we're around certain people. So Ron, you might have, well, I'm this way with my spouse, and when I'm at work, I'm a certain way because I need to be maybe more assertive. I need to be more whatever I need to be. But when I'm with my wife, I am more laid back, more caring. I don't need to be as assertive because I'm in my home. Or with my kids, I've got one kid that's very bullheaded and I've really got to be assertive. And I have another one that's more quiet, doesn't, rock the boat, just kind of doing their thing. And so we are different with them. So we already know that that we have this ability to change our personalities, because that's how we are already with people. And then it just is like, how do we want to be overall? We can change.
That's right. See, and what you're talking about here, what I'm thinking about, I'm going to go back and make a connection with what we were talking about earlier, because it's all about relationships.
Yes.
And knowing each other. And it's like, okay, this is what works when I'm with my boss. This is what works when I'm with my wife. This is what's effective, whatever it might be. And, it's interesting because when my dad and I had a very tough relationship growing up, Just very tough. A lot of different reasons. I don't need to get into all of that. I learned some things about his background and about how he was raised and everything else. And what I ended up realizing was that, you know what? He did the very, very best he could with what he had. And I accepted that. And no, let me rephrase that. The moment I accepted that, our relationship changed drastically. And he and I got very, very close for the last 20 years of his life. Mm-hmm. And what I think about though, Sally, and I mean, it was a wonderful thing, and I'm so grateful for that. My siblings were asking me, how do you get him to do these things? How can you get him to just, all these? And I was like, because I accept him for who he is, and it's okay. I can't change him. I accept it. And I'm at peace with that. and again, I'll leave it at that.
Well, and, I think a lot of people that I have spoken with over the years, especially when it comes to parents and realizing they've done the best that they could with what they could. Because, people don't come with manuals. Now we're learning more and getting more because we have the internet. But when we take that away, it was pretty tough, and you just learn through trial and error. And our parents only learn or know things from what their parents knew and from what their parents knew. And life was not easy. The generations that we start going back, it was harder and harder and just completely different. And I think when we realize that our parents did the best that they could with the tools that they had at the time that it was with what was available, we have, again, more of that understanding. And when you have that understanding, because if I had my mom's life, my opinions of things would be very different because her life was different because of the way she was raised, her experiences, all of those things. And so it can be hard, but I think there's a little bit more empathy and forgiveness and understanding more so with it. Now, obviously, some people have had relationships with parents that, have been horrible, absolutely horrendous and things like that. So taking away the extremes on both ends.
That's right. That's exactly
but we understand.
I'll go back, and again, I'm thinking about my friend and my colleague, Dave. Dave worked at AT&T for many years before he joined a pharmaceutical company where we worked together. He was in a meeting one day with maybe 300 or 400 people, and there was a rocket scientist giving a presentation about a rocket that they were going to be launching. He was going through the algorithms and just everything else. He says, okay. And he said, folks, we launch tomorrow at 0800 and we anticipate full success. And thank you for your time. And, the audience applauds. David's colleague was going to be speaking next. She came out onto the stage and she was very nervous. She goes up to the microphone. She goes, hi, everybody. I'm not going to talk to you about anything as interesting or as complex as what Dr. Sally just talked about. I need to talk to you about feedback and coaching. Rocket scientist came back out onto the stage. Young lady, I am so sorry. I forgot to say something. May I have the microphone back for just a moment? Folks, what I do for a living, simple. I'm a rocket scientist. There's nothing to it. It's math. It's formulas. Get the numbers right, get the formulas right, all is well in the world. As far as I know, folks, we don't come with formulas as human beings. He turned to Dave's colleague. What you're about to talk about, young lady, is much more complex, and I know you'll do a great job. Point, we don't come with formulas.
We don't. We don't. And that just, it reminds me of, I used to think often, so I've got a sister and two brothers, 4 of us. And I used to think, well, like, how is it possible that we're so different? Because we're all very different. Same parents, same house, everything. And one time I was at a seminar or something like that. And it somehow it came up of, families, like people have brothers and sisters and you're kind of different. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Like, I don't get it. And he said, and it's because even though we're in the same house, in part, we're treated differently by our parents. Because the first child, like, parents have no idea generally. The second, they have a little bit more. By the third, oh yeah, fourth or more, oh, we've been here so many times. They're not as nervous and more relaxed about everything. And when events happen in the house, we're all a different age. And so it affects us differently. So it could be if parents are arguing, if you're, a 10, 12, 14, and 8, you're all going to react differently to that fight. Or if there's a divorce or a thing. So even though you're in the same house, your emotional intelligence level, because of your age, is different. You are treated differently, again, because of your age and their experience. And so that's why it's so easy to be different. And so even if there wasn't, it would be impossible to have a manual because we're all so different. It just wouldn't work.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So I thought very interesting. And after I thought that, I'm like, okay, well, that now makes sense. Like once it was put that way, because I just thought we're all in the same house. We all had the same experiences. We had the same family. We had the same, but we didn't have really much of the same because of that. And it really kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, now it makes sense how we can be so different is because every little thing that happened had a different impact on us because of our age and how we perceived things.
Right. That's right.
So, Ron, if people wanted to get in touch with you and work with you, perhaps, where would be the best places for them to find you?
The easiest thing to do, Sally, if anybody wants to get in touch and chat, and I welcome the opportunity to chat, would be via LinkedIn. Just Ron Reich, R-E-I-C-H. The name of my company is RLV, Training and Development. And I welcome the chance to have a conversation with anybody. And I mean that too. It's just a conversation. It's not a selling meeting. It's not let's work together. It's like, no, hey, you want to talk about something, let's talk. And if there's something there where I can help or we can work together, wonderful. If not, so be it. That's fine. It's another relationship.
Right, exactly. And I will make sure that those links are in the show notes to make it easy for everyone. And I just want to say thank you very much for your time today, Ron. I really appreciate it.
Sally, glad to do it. It's been a lot of fun.